I was 65 years old when it hit me. For the first time in my life, I admitted something I had been running from. I was lonely, not the casual kind of lonely that goes away when the phone rings or when you step outside to see friends. This was different. This was the kind of loneliness that lingers in your chest, that sits with you at the dinner table when the chair across from you is empty, that follows you into bed when you reach across the sheets and feel nothing but cold space. For so long I thought intimacy was something that belonged to my past. I thought it was tied to youth, to passion, to bodies that were faster, stronger, and more energetic than mine. I believed what society tells us, that when you get older, intimacy fades, desire disappears, and connection no longer has a place. And so I accepted it. I told myself, this is just how life is now. But here's the truth I wish someone had told me earlier. Intimacy doesn't vanish with age. It simply transforms. And when I finally discovered this, it changed everything. At first, I tried to fight my loneliness in the usual ways. I distracted myself with television, with chores, with scrolling endlessly through my phone. But every night, when the distractions faded, the emptiness remained. I realized I wasn't just craving company, I was craving connection. Not just someone to sit in the same room, but someone to see me, to hear me, to remind me that I was still alive, still capable of love, desire, and closeness. For years, I thought intimacy only meant romance, sex, or holding someone's hand in the middle of the night. And while that's part of it, what I learned at 65 is that intimacy goes far beyond the physical. True intimacy begins with vulnerability, with allowing yourself to be real, raw, and open even when it feels uncomfortable. My journey began in the simplest way. I started writing in a journal. At first, it felt silly. What difference could scribbling words on a page make? But it did. For the first time in decades, I was honest with myself. I wrote about the nights I felt empty. I wrote about the memories I missed. I wrote about the desire that still burned quietly inside me. And in those pages, I realized something profound. Intimacy wasn't gone. It was waiting for me to claim it again. That courage to be honest led me to my next step. I joined a local community group. It wasn't a dating group. It was a storytelling circle. People from all walks of life sat together, shared pieces of their journeys, and listened without judgment. I remember the first time I stood up to share my story. My hands shook, my voice cracked, but I said it out loud. I feel lonely. I miss connection. The room fell silent. Then slowly, heads began to nod. Eyes softened. A woman across the circle reached out and touched my hand, and in that moment, I felt it, the spark of intimacy. Not physical, not romantic, but the kind of closeness that comes when someone truly sees your truth and doesn't turn away. That one experience opened the floodgates. Conversations with friends became deeper. With family, I stopped hiding behind the "I'm fine" mask and started saying, "I need you." I discovered intimacy wasn't just about romance. It was about honesty, presence, and courage. But here's the part that surprised me most. Intimacy with myself. For years, I had avoided mirrors. I had ignored my own body. I carried judgment about my wrinkles, my slower steps, the aches that came with age. But as I opened up emotionally, I realized I also needed to reconnect physically with myself. So I started small, a gentle touch on my own arm, a slow dance in the living room, even if no one was watching, a walk outside, letting the sun kiss my face and remind me I was still here And little by little, I started feeling alive again. I started remembering that my body wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was a vessel of connection, pleasure, and experience. And then, when the time was right, romance found me again. But this time, it was different. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't searching to fill an empty hole inside of me. I was whole already. And when I allowed someone into that space, intimacy felt richer, deeper, more soulful than it ever had when I was younger. So here's the lesson I want to leave you with. Intimacy doesn't disappear at 60 or 70 or 80. It evolves. It becomes less about performance and more about presence, less about the physical and more about the emotional, the spiritual, the deeply human need to connect. If you've ever felt that aching loneliness, if you've ever believed that intimacy is over for you, I want you to know, your story isn't finished. Whether through friendships, family, community, or even rediscovering your own self-love, intimacy can be found again. I was lonely at 65, but today I am more connected, more open, and more alive than I ever thought possible. And maybe, just maybe, you can be too.